The Wally Show podcast is our daily radio show heard live through the WayFM app each morning and hosted by Wally, Gavin, and me, Betty Rock. For more fun, be sure to connect with us at wayfm.com/Wally.
The Wally Show podcast is brought to you by Colorado Christian University Online, where you can earn a degree online just like Betty Rock. You can learn more at ccu.edu/Wally.
Anything you can do, I can do better. I can do anything better than you.
Uplifting WayFM, this is the Wally Show. We're going to play a little boy versus girl. Normally, Gavin and I gang up on Betty because she's smarter than us. But right now, we're going to take on each other head-to-head, mano y woman. And the way it works is if your gender wins, meaning if Betty Rock wins, only ladies can call to win a prize. Mm-hmm. If I win, then only guys can call to win a prize. And be listening carefully because you'll get a question based on our questions here. So with that, Lady Rock, here we go. Question number 1. Mantis shrimp, okay, are known for their powerful punches. They punch things with their little tiny feet or whatever they have. They reach incredible speeds. How fast can they punch? I'm assuming it's in like miles per hour. Because they always like figure it out. Like some scientist is paid to figure this stuff out.
Yeah.
So how fast can a mantis punch? And I'm going to go in miles per hour, so that's what we'll work under.
Okay. I'm just going to have to pick a random number.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go.
5
miles per hour. I went a little higher. I said 26 miles per hour.
Okay.
And the actual answer is 80 miles per hour.
What?
Their little fists go that fast.
Dang.
I always wonder, like, the scientist that's in charge of this, it's like, okay, because it's just got a little tiny leg and it throws, and they got to watch a video of it, and then they've got to do math calculations to figure out how far and fast its leg went from here to here. Like, someone is getting paid to do that.
Right. I mean, what a dream job, right?
Oh, no, I would hate that job.
Oh, it sounds great to me.
Okay, so that's 1 for the guys. Here we go. This is right up your alley, and I don't understand this question, but how many chicken nuggets can the average person eat without dying?
I should know this.
You should know this because you love yourself some McDonald's chicken nuggets. All right, how many? Okay, the average person eat without dying. That seems a little dark. I'll be honest with you. Okay, I got my answer.
Okay, you go first this time.
I said 101, and I think I'm low.
Okay, I went 152.
Oh, I think you probably got me. Because it's got to be higher than that. No,
what
it's
is
closest to without going over.
What?
114 is the death nugget.
Gummit!
Yeah,
They should test me. I think I can make it to 152.
113, you're fine. That 114th, if you're ever out with someone, they're like, have one more. Here's 114. Go for the record.
Ow.
Yeah, don't do it.
Also, to know that you died from eating chicken McNuggets, that's
embarrassing, but also kind of cool.
Well, it's kind of respectful.
Yeah, I kind of get it. All right, final question. You got to get this right on the money. How many donuts does a single Krispy Kreme make each day? Like, so just one standalone store on average here. How many donuts does that Krispy Kreme make? I don't have mine yet.
Come on.
All right, I got it.
Okay, I said 280.
280?
Yeah.
I said 2,000.
Oh, dang. I hope you went over. Well, it doesn't matter because I probably didn't get right on the money.
Nah, you're not right on the money.
What is it?
I'm actually a little low.
What?
50,000 donuts.
Wow.
Yeah. And my wife could eat all of those without dying. She loves some Krispy Kreme. So, all right.
Wow.
That means boys have successfully won today. Yay is what Betty meant. It sounded like she said boo, but she went moo for you. Yay. All right, so only guys can call 855-33-WAY-FM. That's 855-33-WAY-FM. If you're a guy, you can call and you got a chance to win a prize right now.
Anything you can do, I can do better. I can do anything better than you.
Uplifting WayFM. This is the Wally Show. Andrew, it's customary to sing the song, "It's great to be a guy, it's great to be a guy. We stuck it in Betty Rock's eye, it's great to be a guy." I just made that up. Guys won today on Boys versus Girls, and that is why you are calling, sir. And so all you have to do is answer a question based on our questions, and you can win a prize right now. So we're talking about the fact that Krispy Kreme donuts, a single store, can make up to 50,000 donuts in one day. Who did I say could eat those donuts?
Your wife.
Yes, I did. And well, actually, why am I saying that? Andrew said my wife could eat all those donuts.
Yeah, Andrew, how rude.
Yes, sir. What is wrong with you?
Wow, sir.
My wife listens, man. That is absolutely right, Andrew. You are the big winner today, and you're picking up a Way FM prize pack.
Thank you.
Uplifting Way FM. This is the Wally Show, and if you've ever had that thing where you know you're not going to sleep the night before it, that's where I'm at, because tomorrow we kick off Support Drive, and I won't sleep well tomorrow night in anticipation. And
you're so excited.
Yeah, what's going to happen?
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy.
I know, right? Like, what could happen? The thing about support drives, which always amazed me, like, if you don't know what that is, it's where we actually raise the funds to continue this ministry 24/7, 365, because we don't exist without people that support it, just like tithing at church, whether they do it monthly or a single gift. It all matters, and it all goes to keeping Way FM on the air, which is really cool. But, like, I take these very seriously, and I get really stressed about them because we need to hit numbers and things like that, because there's so many things we want to do. You know, we've sent out free Bibles to people. We have our prayer wall. You know, we're doing things throughout the year, and it all has a purpose. It makes a difference in people's lives, and so that's what we're asking people to support. But then you're always like, okay, I take the pressure of it on, like, am I going to do this well? Am I going to convey the story well to inspire somebody? And I have to step out beyond myself, and I started praying, like, God, prepare people's hearts for this. And that whatever I say, no matter how incoherent the ramblings may be, like, somehow could you help that to land with different people?
Well, and he's done it in the past. Won't he do it? Won't he will? Because he has used you to get that story out there, even with all the rambling. He's been able to touch people's hearts and help them see about the hope that is spread through Way FM because of their generosity.
I always take heart in the story of Balaam's donkey. You know, like, I'm like, you know what? He can use any of us, which is great. But what's really cool about it, in all seriousness, is he uses all of us together, you know, because we get to be the mouthpiece of something. But without you, we wouldn't be here. We couldn't do that. And so we get to see the stories of life change happen on a daily basis. And I love when people share their stories as to why they chose to give. That makes a difference. And really, you're on, and I say this in complete sincerity, your stories, when you call during Support Drive and you share why you chose to give, are far more powerful than the things that Betty or I say.
Exactly. And so maybe you've been listening to Way FM for a while, or maybe just a little bit, and you had no idea that it's a listener-supported station, and you would like to get involved. It's easy to do. I know that Support Drive hasn't started yet, but you can already get involved right now.
Yeah, you can go early.
Right. When you text the word GIVE to 91979, we will send you a link on how you can get involved and make a difference in people's lives. That's GIVE to 91979.
Talk about getting involved early. I had a friend of ours, Mark and Sally, they're in Fort Myers. They called me yesterday, and they're like, hey, man, excited about Support Drive coming up. You start tomorrow, yeah. And he's like, let's figure it out. He's already planning. We're going to do a big gift to kick this thing off. Like, man, thank you. Like, I love that heart and that spirit. He's already making his plans. And so maybe you follow that and say, hey, I want to help out too. I'll give you that head start. Like Betty said,
Text give
to 91979. I don't have the phones open yet.
Once
for
again,
that.
God can use anything.
Exactly. See, it's not about me. You're absolutely right.
It's easy to let the fear of the unknown keep us from doing something that is good for us. But going back to school might not be quite what you think.
Yeah, one of my biggest fears going back to school was I'd have to watch a ton of online lectures, and I kind of have a problem staying awake during stuff like that. But it was so different than I had imagined, and way better.
Yeah, for sure. I thought I was going to have to take a bunch of tests, which I am not a fan of. But instead, I was able to write papers, which for me was way better.
Plus, you have the flexibility to work in school around your work and life schedule. Another big fear I had is, what if I don't understand something? What do I do?
Yeah, CCU, they foster community with your classmates, and they are a great resource. And Colorado Christian University has very responsive online professors who are there to help you so you are never alone as an online student at CCU.
Learn more about how you can pursue your passion and find your calling with Colorado Christian University at ccu.edu. Colorado Christian University is a nonprofit impact partner committed to cultivating the mind without compromising the heart.
Uplifting Way FM.
Here's a little something to help set the tone for the day. It's The Wally Show.
As the residents of Lahaina, Hawaii, are digging out from the massive fires there, and they're coming together, and they're proving that spirit of ohana and family. It was interesting. I was coming across a regular news story that was talking about how in Hawaii they eat Spam more than any other state, and that the company Hormel is helping out the wildfire victims. That's the company that makes Spam. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And but here's the cooler part is they are actually working with Convoy of Hope, who we've been telling you about is one of the ministry partners we work with in natural disasters, because they're on the ground and they get help to people and they get Jesus to people instantly, you know? And so it was really cool to see that Convoy of Hope and, well, that Spam is partnered with Convoy of Hope, and they're helping hand out product to people and get them fed.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I actually tried Spam for the very first time maybe weeks ago.
Yeah.
It was so good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And
like, why have I not been eating it?
All you have to do, too, is you can make a brown sugar and orange juice glaze like you would for regular ham. This is what my mom used to do. Spam used to be really cheap. That's why we had it instead of ham. Now it's gotten more expensive. But I didn't even know you could have a spiral ham till I was probably 17. I just thought all ham came out in a gelatinous form out of this can, and that was ham. But no, not true. But you put a glaze on that or fry that, oh boy. Anyway, we got sidetracked there. But hey, if you want to help out what's going on in Hawaii and some of the relief efforts with Convoy of Hope, it's super simple. You can just text the word convoy to 91979 and we will send you a link. Uplifting Way FM, this is The Wally Show. One thing I wish I had spent more time in school learning was history. I could memorize dates and stuff because I was good at memorizing, but I didn't connect all the dots. And I would love to go back in time and experience things that now I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. And they actually, I'm not alone, because they actually did like a survey of people, like 2,000 people, and asked them, you know, which historical event would you like to go back to? Now, here's the rules for this. As believers, we know crucifixion, resurrection, for sure, would be totally cool. Those will be a given. Those are where you go first. I get it. But then what are other historical events outside of those that you're like, you know what, it would be really cool to see this? Like, for me, it would be the building of the pyramids. Like, we don't fully know how they were constructed. We know parts of it. We've theorized on other parts of it. We know it was massive human labor. But how did they actually do it would be fascinating for me.
Yeah, that would be fascinating. Yeah. For me, I think it would be seeing the pilgrims coming.
Yeah.
And then them and the indigenous people, like, working together to make food and to come together. I don't know. It'd just be really cool.
Pocahontas. You want to go back to the setting of Pocahontas?
With all the colors of the wind.
All right, so that's Betty's. That's mine. What is yours, okay? Now, here's the only rules inside it. Like, there's rules. But here's the only rules, okay? You cannot say, I want to go back to something so that you could alter it. It's just to be an observer of it. And why? Like, why does that moment matter to you? You know, like, you might be, say, like, you're a woman pilot, a female pilot, and you wanted to go back to Amelia Earhart because that would be cool for you, and ride shotgun. I don't know. So those are just some thoughts. 855-33-WAY-FM is the number. That's 855-33-WAY-FM. We'll take your little trip right now. What is something more historical that you would want to go see?
Well, as Christians, we're not supposed to really believe the Big Bang Theory.
Sure.
But I believe that God said, let there be light, and bang, there was light.
So you'd want to go back to the beginning of creation and just see how God was doing it. I have to think, when you look at the solar system, how beautiful it is that God is an artist, you know, and I do believe that he took time making things and that he sat back and marveled at them. And it even says, and he sat back and said it was good. Because I know when I build something and I finish it, I sit there and I just stare at it. And I'm like, I can't believe I built that. And I'm curious if he did the same thing and just enjoyed the creation he made.
Absolutely. That's how I feel, man. After I build something, I love going back years later and, hey, I built that.
That's it.
That.
I would hope he would say the same thing about me, like when he looks at me and goes, I'm proud of that, but probably not always. All right, Vicky, you're up. What is that historical event you would love to go see?
The parting of the Red Sea.
Yes, that is a really good one. I got to tell you, like, I saw a thing on this the other day about where they theorized that the Israelites crossed the Red Sea and how it's super deep on each side of this place. And then they've actually found, like, Roman chariots and stuff like this in the water there. Yeah. And it's fascinating.
Yeah, I've heard about that, too.
There was even, like, some stuff in there about how high the water rose up. That correlated to the depth of where it was at that time and what was said in the Bible. I'm like, oh my gosh, that would be amazing to see God's power and his provision for people when they didn't think he was going to show up.
Right, exactly. It's deliverance of his people there.
And it's crazy, too, because sometimes we think God is this God of the Old Testament and he's distant in history. But the reality is the God that parted those seas for the Israelites and showed up for them still continues to part our seas and shows up for us when we need him as well.
Yes, he does.
Well, Vicky, I appreciate you being on the show and weighing in on this today. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
So what would you pick, Hope?
I would have to pick Roanoke Island.
Oh, yes, Roanoke Island, the vanishing colony, and what happened to them. I've always wondered. I was hoping maybe you could tell me.
I teach third grade, and it absolutely drives me crazy to teach these children a theory with, 4 different options and then let them choose their own of, what it could be and where this whole tribe of people went. Did they absorb into the Croatoans, or they went to another island, or they all died? Well, if they all died, you'd see bodies laying around.
I might change my first question when I get to heaven. I might ask this one now. Like, God, what happened with that? Thank you. That's a good one, Hope.
Have a great day.
All right, Sarah, you're up. What would you choose? Where would you go back in history to see?
The women at the well. Because I've been more than once, and just to see Jesus break down those barriers and say, hey, we're going through Samaria, not around it.
That is a good one. I always like the story of the woman caught in adultery. That's one of my favorite stories.
That one too.
Because I just want to know what he wrote in the ground. Like, as it says he wrote something in the ground, then everyone's like, all right, hey, let's go. Peace out. We're going to leave. What did he write? Like, that would be amazing to know.
Some people say that it's her history, like her story. See, he wrote his sins down on the ground.
I always thought he wrote their sins on the ground. And I could picture all of them in sandals trying to kick the dirt. Being like, okay, we don't need to talk about that. Let's just cover that up. You know what? I think I hear my wife calling me. I got to go.
Yes.
Well,
yes.
Sarah, I appreciate you being on the show with us today. Thank you.
Of course. Thank you so much.
Uplifting Way FM. This is the Wally Show. Tomorrow is a big day for your Way FM as we kick off our support drive. And it's where we raise the funds necessary to keep doing what we do every day here. And if it's something that you love and enjoy, we love hearing your story when you choose to support it as well. And because that's the fun part of support drive for me, honestly. It's getting to hear people's stories of why they choose to get involved and why it matters to them.
My husband's retired military, so living overseas, we didn't always have our choice of music. We always, listened to CDs and stuff. And so when he retired and we moved back here to Bowling Green, I worked in a school. I used to play our local Christian radio. Just for me, a girlfriend of mine that I worked with told me about Way FM. I switched over to Way FM and I haven't gone back. Love the music. I love you guys. You're like part of my life.
Oh, wow. I didn't know we stole her from another one. Sorry. Not really. But you know what? That's the thing, man. There are Christian stations all around the country, and we all do it a little bit differently. And that's important because everyone has their own ministry, you know? And so I love the people that connect with us because it's a place where we're not always perfect. I'm not always my best. I'm not always my best on the air. There are times where I let my human side shine through, and I'm not the best representation of Jesus, even when I'm ranting about something, you know? But it's a place where imperfect people are loved by a perfect God, and we extend grace and we figure things out together. And that's what I love about Way FM is it allows everybody that space to be real and just to be genuine in where you're at in your journey, because it's all a process. No one's arrived. And I think that's really important. The people that think they've arrived scare me. You know, because no one has arrived, and this is a place where you can belong even before you believe. I love people that are like, yeah, I'm not really a Christian, but there's something here that I like listening to. I'm like, well, that's truth. That you like truth. You don't know it yet, but you love listening to hope, and that's gonna get into your soul, and it gets there because people choose to support it and keep it on the air, and that's how we exist, and that's what we appreciate most about you, is you partnering with us in that ministry.
So you can get involved right now before support drive even starts. You can get in. When you text the word GIVE to 91979, we'll send you a link on how you can get involved. That's GIVE to 91979.
Uplifting Way FM.
News can be a little heavy, so we like to do news-ish. Here's Wally.
I think most people, when you see celebrities, are like, oh, I wish I had an assistant. That'd be so great. Well, Google is trying to up their assistant game in your life with AI. And they are putting it together so that you can have an AI life coach.
I don't know.
You seem concerned.
Well, because AI, it's only as smart as how they program it.
Yeah, but I mean, programmed by people, but how's your life working out?
Wow. Boy, that really turned. Also, what does that say about you? I work with you.
Oh, yeah. You worked your way to the middle, girl. That's not my fault. So, yeah, it's kind of like they're trying to teach AI different tasks to help people improve their lives. Things like creative problem solving, helping you plan ahead better, planning budgets and meals. Those are weird things to me. Like, Google, plan a menu for me for the next week. You know, I'm like, I don't know what I would feel like eating. And maybe that makes it easier because sometimes it's harder to decide.
Well, you would just need to say, make a meal plan based for a 5-year-old.
Exactly. Yeah. What would a 5-year-old eat with no vegetables involved? I mean, if AI could do that kind of stuff, that's magic.
I could.
Yeah, I would look at that. But then it's talking about doling out life advice. This is where it gets weird. Like, life advice from a machine that has no experience in it would be odd because it would just be pulling from other experiences on the web or whatever's been programmed into it. Like, I want to talk to real people that have experienced real things.
Right, and I think we've seen an uptick in this kind of stuff with AI just because, sadly, we live in a world where we're so connected through social media, but really we're disconnected. And so maybe people don't have those friends that they can fall back on and ask for advice, so they go to a computer. Yeah.
I don't use AI a lot. Like, we'll use it for bits on the show here and there. We were like, hey, our AI, write a song. You know, we did a bit with Matthew West where we had it write a song to see if it wrote a better song than him. But I would be fascinated. I should fire an AI up and go, hello, Google, or artificial intelligence thing, whoever we're going to say it to, tell me how to become a Christian. I would love to see what artificial intelligence said about that. That is we're going to do that. I want to look this up. I want to figure this out and see what it says. Is it A, accurate, and B, does it have any sort of feeling or any way to capture what that is about? Because that's the thing you can't define. You don't know it until you experience it, and then it's real for you, you know, and that's the thing that computers miss on. But man, that'll be a good experiment. We'll do that. Betty and I will work on this right now. And so in the meantime, though, maybe Google can help you out with your life choices. They say they're not too far from rolling this out, and I would be interested to play with it and see. I think it's like anything. You have to take it with a grain of salt, and maybe some things it's good at helping you with, but I'm never, ever going to trust a computer completely. Never. I don't even trust my calculator.
He doesn't even
and
trust
I can't
himself.
do math. I know, so there you go. Well, that's going to do it for your news-ish. Uplifting Way FM. This is the Wally Show. So we're talking about how Google announced that they're trying to have an AI assistant that will give you life advice and all these things that are great about AI. And we got onto this conversation of like, what would AI say to somebody who was like, hey, artificial intelligence, hey, Google, how do I become a Christian? And so I fired up my ChatGPT, and I was curious, would it be accurate what it said?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so basically, here's what ChatGPT said about how do I become a Christian. Becoming a Christian involves personal and spiritual journey of faith in Jesus Christ. Here are some general steps you should take.
General steps.
It gets very mechanical there. Understand the gospel. Begin learning about the core beliefs of Christianity that center around the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus. So far, we're right on the money. Repentance, recognize your need for forgiveness and a relationship with God, acknowledge your sins and shortcomings, and your genuine desire to turn away from them. So far, like, artificial intelligence is getting this down. Pray and build a relationship with God. Prayer is essential in your journey as a Christian. Accept Jesus. Invite him into your life as your Savior and Lord. Acknowledge his authority and submit to his teachings. Baptism says baptism is a symbolic act identifying with Christ's death, burial, and resurrection. It's not necessary for salvation, but Christians choose to do this out of obedience and a public declaration of their faith. Study the Bible, join a Christian community, go to church, connect with other believers. And then it basically says Christianity is a lifelong journey of growth and transformation that seeks to live a life that reflects your faith in Christ through love, compassion, and obedience. Like, it nailed all of the stuff. I mean, like, those are all, like it says, the general steps. These are what you should do.
Right.
The one thing that it can't convey, though, is a person sharing their experience. I was this way. I was hopeless. I was despondent. I was lonely. I lacked direction. And then I encountered Jesus, and all of a sudden, my life had purpose. It had meaning. It had direction. And I stopped living for myself, and I lived for others. And it was the most fulfilling thing that I've ever experienced in my life. Like, that's the thing that AI cannot fill in those blanks for.
True, but it can start that conversation, I guess. Like, if someone doesn't have any Christians in their life and this is something that they can go to and get some advice, okay, it can start there, but then they can grow from that.
Because we all talk about how, like, AI is going to take over the world and stuff like that. And I get that there's some things that it can do, but the ability of a person to tell their story and connect with you. We sat down recently, you'll see this interview in a couple of weeks, with Logan from Kane and his wife Emily, and they have a song called Windows Down, and it was her story about meeting Jesus in her car in the midst of her brokenness, in the midst of being an alcoholic and all of that stuff. And as she told her story, I watched her radiate. And I watched her talk about how much she understood that she was forgiven and loved. And you could see that she was grateful and thankful for that. And that's the kind of thing. It teared me up instantly because I'm like, that's the real. And that's the thing that AI and that's the thing that computers will never be able to do, is share with you a real encounter with a living God that loves you and died for you, you know? And so I think that's where we go from the mechanical and the lists to the reality and the relationship. And that's something that, you know, you might be nervous about. The reason I bring this up is you might think, I can't do it as well as Google. It just laid it all out. But my point is, you sharing your story of an encounter with Jesus is always going to be better than a list from a computer. So don't shy away from sharing it, even if you don't think that you have the ability to do so. Uplifting Way FM. This is the Wally Show. And Betty Rock was telling me the story of this lady. And I think surprisingly, I was like, I've seen this story before. I cannot believe it either.
Yeah, so this woman claims that she flies to Turkey, the country, every time she needs to get her hair done. That
makes sense.
Does it?
It does.
I mean, I do see, like, I understand as a woman, like, I understand when you find that hairdresser that you vibe with, like, you don't want to lose them.
You are loyal. And I know mine, too, because she can do so much with so little. I'm not leaving her ever.
But to travel to a different country because she sees that hairdresser's worth as that valuable is stating a lot.
That's a baller move.
It is.
I mean, I guess if you go, like, she probably doesn't go every 6 weeks like my wife does for a haircut. But then you factor in, I'm going to take a little trip here. And it can't be cheap, though.
No. Of course, I don't know where this woman, her home is. But either way, like you said, it can't be cheap.
Yeah.
It has to be pretty expensive.
It's worth it. Some things are worth it, yeah.
I'm sure, like, there's most of us would say we wouldn't fly somewhere on the regular to get to something that we think it has value.
I don't know.
But maybe you drive a long ways to get to something.
I know people will like fly to concerts and go to concerts.
That's
people
true.
started going to Europe to go to concerts because Ticketmaster is doing a little thing like called hosing everyone. And so people are like, well, I might as well make a vacation of it. I'm going to be close to the same amount of money because ticket prices over in Europe, they actually don't allow them to gouge their customers like we do here. And so the people are like, I'll fly there. And so that's baller move.
Well, I know that in the past, I have driven 2 hours to get to a gas station.
Buc-ee's?
Because
you have.
Because I wanted to go to Buc-ee's, and that was the closest one. And so I guess I could put myself in this category and say, could I get gas from any gas station? Yeah, I
absolutely,
could. But I wanted to go to Buc-ee's.
I think it would be cooler if you had flown to Buc-ee's, like rented a helicopter and flown and landed in a Buc-ee's. You know how many people are like, dang, who's that?
Right.
That's got to be a star. And then you just walk in bigger than life.
And they're like, who's that?
Yeah, that's amazing. All right, so what is that thing that you think was worth traveling for? You made a trip. Maybe I know people that have driven a couple hours to get ice cream at a specific, I swear to you, at a specific place that they love so much. I drove an hour out of my way to get pie one time at the Pie Kitchen in Louisville. It's fantastic.
Wow, okay.
All right, so 855-33-WAY-FM. What is that thing that you say is 100% worth traveling for, and how far did you go to get it? 855-33-WAY-FM. We'll take yours now. So what is the farthest you have gone to get something that you feel was worth it?
So I was living in Clearwater, Florida at the time, and I wanted to go see one of my favorite country singers, so I flew to Nashville, Tennessee. And in return, I ended up meeting my husband, and we've been married for 16 years now.
Oh, no way. That's pretty great. Did you meet him at the concert, or was he like your Uber driver?
Well, Uber wasn't a thing back then, but we ended up meeting tailgating in the Nissan Stadium parking lot.
I have to know, what artist brought you together?
Kenny Chesney.
Oh, yeah, Kenny puts on a good show. I mean, that's a show that's worth flying to, for sure. I've never flown to see a show, though, because as good as the show will be, flying is such a hassle now that I don't even enjoy it. I barely want to fly for vacation, much less just for like one night to go to a show, because the airline industry has made it so difficult.
Well, at the time, I was actually a flight attendant, so it's pretty easy for me to fly city to city.
So you met your husband at a Kenny Chesney show. You won. Well, actually, he won. Well, let's say that. He won.
For sure.
Well, hey, I appreciate you being on the show with us. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a blessed day.
Robert, what is the farthest you've ever gone for something that you felt was worth traveling for?
I drove to Salt Lake City from northern Colorado to have In-N-Out Burger.
To get In-N-Out Burger? How long a drive is that?
It was about 8 hours. Me and some buddies of mine decided that we were going to do like a little guy road trip for about 36 hours or so, and drove to Salt Lake City to have In-N-Out Burger because they didn't have one here in Colorado.
That's really funny. I respect that. But In-N-Out Burger, I think it's overrated.
I can understand you saying that, but it was worth the drive.
Well, that's what I was going to ask, if it was worth burning all that fuel just to get a burger.
Oh, it was. It was a good guy trip that we had.
Were you guys single or married?
All three of us were married.
Yeah, see, that was not about In-N-Out. That was about
getting a
break. Well, Robert, I hope you have a great rest of your day, man. Thanks for being on the show with us.
Yeah, you guys have an awesome day as well. Be blessed.
Growing up in poverty has never been easy for children, but with the added challenges of the pandemic, conflict, and natural disasters, families around the world are facing an unprecedented food crisis. Unfortunately, those who are already hungry are now even more desperate. But by sponsoring a child through compassion, you can help provide life-sustaining essentials such as food and clean water. And with your compassionate support, that child can not only survive, but also flourish. You can find out how and choose a child to sponsor when you click on the compassion banner at wayfm.com.
Uplifting Way FM. If it's trending, streaming, or starring, Betty Rock's got it. On The Rock Report. Hey, Betty.
Online chatting has made it possible for many to fall victim to what they call catfishing.
Yeah.
It's a term used to describe someone who tries to lure a stranger into an online relationship. They've even made a show about it because it's that prominent.
Yeah, and it's under
Sadly.
false pretenses, and they use pictures of people who they are not, and you fall in love. I always like go, who falls for this stuff? Like, come on, man. And there's whole TV shows about it, like Betty was saying. But then in the midst of all of those shows, there's one thing that always hits me is I feel sad for the people who fall for it because at the baseline, they just want to be loved.
Right. And despite all of this well-known catfishing, like people should know to be on the lookout, there are still people that fall victim to the scam. The most recent being a Kentucky woman named Michaela, who joined an online artist forum to try and make connections with people who were just as passionate about filmmaking as she was. Out of that group, one member contacted her personally, claiming they were well-known actor, the guy that plays Billy Hargrove in Stranger Things.
Oh, okay.
So claiming that they were that actor, okay?
That's such a red flag.
It is.
That's
should.
Such a red flag. Because if you really believe in your soul that some actor on a forum is reaching out and connecting with you, again, that goes back to that sad thing because you're setting aside reality for the hopes of something different or unique.
Well, Michaela, the victim, she is a huge fan of Stranger Things. And this person claiming to be this actor knew that about them. So after hitting it off online only, Michaela claims the actor and the actor and her, they spent hours chatting together online, and eventually this actor asked Michaela if she would send him money since he was having trouble with his bank account.
Red flag 2.
Right.
Red flag 2.
If he is a star in a well-known popular Netflix show, he is fine.
His bank account's okay. He doesn't need yours. Oh, love.
Well,
love.
Michaela believed him.
No, Michaela.
And in the span of their online relationship, she calculates she sent somewhere around $10,000.
No, he doesn't.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
And and what did she do? She sent money to him or gift cards?
Gift cards. And that's when you know. That's another red flag.
Red flag 3 because they're not traceable. Like anyone that is asking you for gift cards that you have not seen and looked into their eyes or hand delivered them a gift card, they are not who they say they are.
It's so bad. But Michaela was asked later, once she did find out that this was all a scam and now she's out $10,000, she was asked, like, what advice she would give to others who find themselves in similar situations.
What'd she say?
She said, quote, if you're someone like me, you're afraid of abandonment and you're a really big people pleaser. And these scammers, they leech off of that. And so that's the case for her. Like this person claiming to be this well-known artist or this actor, said, I love you. Like, I want you to be my girlfriend. But without ever seeing their face or having a face-to-face conversation, this is all online and in a group chat. There's so many red flags.
I know, but you don't see them. And that's the sad thing because there's something inside of her that, like she said, fear of abandonment. So there's something way deeper that is then going before her that's kind of predicating this failure. I mean, I know that's why you stopped online dating, but it's because you were like, I am not getting catfished for the 15th time.
No.
14 was enough.
No, honestly, online dating has turned into a reality TV show.
It really is.
The pictures that guys think are okay to post,
Yeah.
I don't want to see the big fish you caught the
No,
other day.
you don't need to be holding a bass shirtless. As a guy, don't do that.
No gym selfies.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Absolutely.
Don't get me started. That's a tangent
now,
for another day.
if you're cuddling a kitten, you got this girl's heart for sure. All right, that is going to do it for your Rock Report and hopefully keeps you from getting scammed today. Uplifting Way FM, this is The Wally Show. And from time to time, we like to do this thing called spiritual lessons from an unlikely source. Yes, we get spiritual lessons from church all the time or small group, but I like to see things from maybe places that you wouldn't expect it to come from. And in this case, it's actually from comedian Russell Brand. And he had a really interesting take on worship.
When it says in the Old Testament, worship no other gods than me, the implication I offer is that we are a species that worships, and if you do not access the divine, you will worship the mundial, you will worship the profane, you will worship your own identity, you will worship your belongings, you will worship the template laid before you by a culture that gets you distracted.
And that's fascinating because he's not like a believer as far as I know, but he's dead on.
But he sees that even as a non-believer, someone who doesn't believe in God, that no matter what, we are prone to worship.
Yeah.
And so whether you're worshiping God or not, if it's not him, it's something else.
Yeah, and so that can be things that aren't healthy. Mm-hmm. And we as believers get it out of balance too. Like even in our own faith, sometimes we worship at the altar of self, mm-hmm. and sometimes we are even doing good things, but it becomes the thing that we are putting our focus on instead of our relationship with God. And so I'm curious for you, have you ever found yourself in that place? What was that thing that you worshiped, And again, worship is just basically that thing where you're spending your time, your money, your energy, your thoughts, your efforts, and you're putting that energy into something other than God, because worship isn't just about 3 songs at church before the message. It's where your life is and where your priorities are. And for a lot of people, I know money is a big idol in essence, and something that you, in essence, worship because you like what it does for you, and you have to be careful of that. And so what is that for you? 855-33-WAY-FM. I just thought that was really good from Russell Brand, of all people, that, he's calling out, hey, we all worship something, so what is it? 855-33-WAY-FM is the number. We'll take yours right now. Have you ever found yourself getting it out of balance and worshiping something other than God?
Oh, yes. Years ago, we started hot air ballooning. You do that early in the morning, and that became our church of God.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with hot air ballooning. It's not a detrimental hobby, unless you hit power lines. But yeah. When it takes place of your relationship with God, when you find yourself not going to church because you go hot air ballooning, then it becomes the thing that you worship. I totally get that.
Absolutely, and we did it for probably 3 or 4 years, and thank goodness we found our way back to church and God.
Now, was it because you hit a power line and then you're like, we got to get back in church? Lord help me!
No, we didn't do anything like that. We just realized that we had drifted away and church was not in our repertoire anymore, so we got back.
But I think what it goes to show is there's something about having a community in your church. Like, you don't get that when you're in a hot air balloon. And so I think a lot of introverts would agree it's a lot easier to just do your own thing. But eventually, when you go through hard times, you need to have that community available and ready, that you've already built.
You need that fellowship.
Well, Joyce, we appreciate you being on the show with us today. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So you posted some of this on Facebook too, right?
Yes, I did. And there's other people that are talking about how they've gotten it out of balance. Ash, she said she noticed that she was worshiping her business. So you can worry about like the money that you're getting in, what people are thinking of you and your business, like all of these things. It's almost like, it's spending your money on it, but also your time as well.
Oh, absolutely. I watch these women on TikTok or Instagram or whatever build businesses for themselves because they want financial freedom and they want freedom to be with their family. And it becomes the thing that enslaves them, and gosh, they work hard and they've mastered how to make money off the internet. And it's impressive as all get out, but there's a cost to it too, because you find that this is all you end up doing and you become a slave to it, and that's not healthy. If you ever want to know what you worship, they say, look at your checkbook. And I believe that 100%. Like, are your hobbies out of control? Are you collecting out of control? Are you eating out all the time? Like, where are you spending your money and where are you spending your time? That will tell you what you're worshiping. Is your hobby far more than you tithe? and you spend more time there than you do at church, then you might be worshiping your hobby.
Yeah.
Guilty. Except for the tithing. I actually do pretty good on tithing.
Thanks to your wife.
1,000,000,000%. Look how I took credit for that, but then the Lord puts Betty in my life to be like, hey, it ain't you, pal. It's 100% her.
And you're welcome.
She's great at it. Thank you.
Yes. Raymond, he also said that he noticed he was worshiping worry, which
That's a really interesting concept.
Right. It's something you don't think you would worship, but if you spend a lot of time finding yourself being anxious because you're thinking ahead and you're getting worried about what's to come, that you could be worshiping. Yeah. You're spending more time worrying than you are praying.
You've made the problem bigger than your God.
Yeah.
And I get that. That's when I think a lot of people, you wouldn't think of it as worship, but by this definition of the thing that you've placed in front of your relationship with God, it most certainly is. It's just a negative thing that can be crippling. And so there you go. Hopefully some of this gives you a little food for thought today as you go into the weekend or, just whatever you got going on. You go, you know what? Maybe I should crack my Bible a little bit more here, because I'm spending so much time on all this other stuff that doesn't feed me or build me up or strengthen my faith. Maybe I should, work on that and be more intentional. And I think that's a lesson for Betty for sure.
Wait, what?
And me. You didn't let me finish. I just ladies first. That's all.
I wasn't even listening. I was listening to podcasts.
Uplifting Way FM. This is The Wally Show, and we have a podcast that we do every day after the show, and it's new content that you haven't heard before, and we call it our Aftercast. And recently, we got a question from a potty. That's the people that listen to our podcast, we call them, asking about the seating arrangements in church. But the conversation went to something I think everyone has experienced if you've ever invited a friend to visit your church.
Do you sit in the same pew at church every Sunday, or do you change where you sit?
No, we try to get there early because ours aren't pews. They're all individual seats. And so we have a section that we always sit in, and it starts with about 10 seats wide, and then it comes down to a point, basically. And at the very end, there's just 2 seats. And so my wife and I always try to get there early, so we just have
to get
the
those
2 seats.
Really?
Yeah, so there's no one sitting next to us.
That is, you're lying.
I'm honest, truthful. Honest, truthful.
That makes y'all look so...
not welcoming?
Yes.
No, but
that you get there early so you can take those 2 seats that are sitting alone. What if those seats are gone? Then what?
Oh, I'm like, dadgummit, we didn't beat the new people here. And so then we have to go up a few rows where there's like 3 seats or 4 seats. Do you move around?
No, I have thought about moving around, though. I've gotten to know a lot of people at my church, and so I don't feel like I have to sit where I usually do.
How long is your church again? Does it clock in at an hour and a half, too?
Yeah, it's like
3.5.
No, only if there's snake wrangling.
Yeah, okay.
Then it's 3.5.
So you have an hour and a half on your church?
Yeah.
Okay, that's not horrible.
Only if the Holy Spirit is moving or not.
Yeah, I went to a church one time where people in the audience, I was visiting, and they started singing a different song, and the band then just started playing along to what this person was singing in the crowd. It was weird. And the whole time my friends are going, it's not really like this normally. I'm like, this feels pretty much like they've done this before. This doesn't feel like new territory here.
That's how it always happens when you invite somebody and something happens and you're like, it's not always like this. I swear.
No, it's always like this. So there you go. That's a slight example, a little example of our Aftercast and the life stuff that we talk about. If you like that, you go, oh, hey, I'd like to check that out. In addition to listening to The Wally Show on Way FM, here's how you do it.
Yeah, just text TWS, which stands for The Wally Show. So TWS to 91979. That's TWS to 91979. Well, that's the end, but it doesn't have to be. Check out our Aftercast. It's new stuff you didn't hear in the podcast. Be sure to rate us on iTunes as well as connect with us on social media. Just search Wally Show. And if you'd like to join our Facebook group made exclusively for you potties, the link is in the description of this podcast. Thanks to Colorado Christian University Online for supporting what we do.